I often think, man, if I wonder what my book would have been like had I had like a Springtide out there doing this work and helping people to connect with Gen X, because I feel like we didn't have that. We didn't have anyone who was out there, an organization dedicated to this kind of work, this very niche work. It's very niche. It's not something that there are a lot of people out there doing like Pew Research or a lot of research boards, but they're not necessarily just honed in on this particular age group. Right. And I think that you can get really discouraged when you're looking at some Pew Research, or you're looking at Barna, I think is another group, and I love their research, but sometimes it can get really discouraging because it's a broader spectrum. It's my generation and upward. But when you look at this generation, it just gives me a little bit more hope, because the answers are just so very different, very different. Yeah.
Well, and, you know, I want to give a plug for the podcast, especially because yes, you can hear the voices of young people coming through the words on the page, and there's something different about hearing the young people detail their own lived experience on these podcast episodes.
Right.
It's really, really remarkable.
It really
my colleague Marta that you mentioned shepherds those podcast episode creations, and they're just lovely. And so if those of you who are wanting to hear from young people, you want to hear, you know, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, what they are thinking, feeling, believing, doing, our podcast is a great place to start. Obviously, this season of the podcast is about the banger
start,
but we have previous ones about all sorts of things, mental health, uncertainties of the pandemic, all sorts of things. So that's another great free resource. If you're wondering what the insights of young people are, you can hear it straight from them. And it's called The Voices of Young People is the name of it.
And there are these, and I'm going to put all this in the notes, so you'll be able to connect. And I'll put a collaboration with Springtide so you can go follow. But I love that there are these QR codes for all the different studies that you guys have done.
Yep.
The one on the state of mental health was really important to me as a mom and as someone who writes a lot about mental health. So that was a really important one. But I'm curious if you are doing the one about sacredness. I think it would behoove you not to look into the work that you guys have done about Gen Z and belief a closer look, because those two they're kind of aligned, and they're not the same thing. Belief is very different than sacredness, in the same way that sacredness is very different than religion. And I think that having that broader picture of how Gen Z defines it for themselves is important. If you are working in these circles, if you are a professor, a teacher, there's a lot of different ways that you might be doing this work. Therapy, writer, particularly if you're a YA writer.
Right. Absolutely. This is great fodder if you're a YA writer.
Yeah. So those are just some of the things that I want you guys to definitely take a look at. And it has been such a joy to be part of this community, to be part of what Springtide's doing. It's a really beautiful organization who's extremely dedicated to the work, and I'm just flat out honored anytime that I get to have conversations with you or conversations with these brilliant people doing incredible work in the world. My favorite question anytime that, well, I didn't get to come to our meeting last time in person, but the one that I went to in person, I was asking everyone for book recommendations, because I'm like, what do you read?
Absolutely. And they read everything. But Marcy, don't sell yourself short. We are honored to have you and your brilliance as part of our community, and you enrich it great. You just
Yeah.
bring so much to what we do in a
Aw.
perspective that we need.
Aw.
We need to hear what you have to say and what you have to give. And so we're very grateful
Aw.
for your presence.